What if I told you there's a way to enjoy the holidays, eat delicious food, but still stay lean? Because the holidays don't have to be a time when we gain a bunch of weight and undo all of our fitness progress. It also doesn't have to be a time when we overly restrict and deny ourselves all the delicious holiday foods. So in this video, I'll show you how you can have the best of both worlds because yes, it is fully possible. If you're new here, my name is Naomi. Welcome to my channel. I help women level up and live their best life. So if that sounds like your cup of tea, please consider subscribing. A few months ago, I made a video about how I lost over 30 pounds and kept it off, and I was really happy to see that you guys loved that video. It's currently my most viral video, and at the expense of sounding cocky, it makes sense that the video did so well because it's full of amazing, practical, and unique advice that I wasn't hearing a lot of people share. So give that video a watch if you haven't already. But before we get into today's video, I would like to give a quick disclaimer. I'm personally someone who struggled with binge eating in the past, so most of the advice in today's video is going to be geared towards people who struggle with overeating. If you have the opposite problem and this video could trigger you to undereat or over restrict, maybe skip this one and watch one of my other videos. That being said, in my opinion, I think the advice in this video is pretty healthy and balanced. So without further ado, let's get into how you can fully enjoy the holidays and still stay lean. Chapter 1. How to navigate potlucks, buffets, and food abundance. The holidays are usually a time when there's an abundance of not so healthy food around, and I feel like we've all had the experience of being at a potluck or a family get-together where there's a large variety of food and we just want to try it all. So we take a little bit of everything, and before we know it, we've blacked out and our plates are way too packed. What we need to remember is that we all eat with our eyes, and our eyes are not always reliable when it comes to judging how much to put on our plate. And if we're not mindful in the moment, we can accidentally serve ourselves portions that are way too big and we end up painfully full afterwards. And I'm fully speaking from experience because I was a master at eating with my eyes and really overdoing it with the portion sizes. So there's two main things we can focus on when we find ourselves in this kind of food abundance situation. Number one is portion control. Just don't go overboard, especially with the unhealthy foods, because no unhealthy food is going to hurt your progress or health if you have it in moderation. The second thing is food order. Try and have your protein and fiber first, then smaller portions of the yummy indulgent foods. So let's expand on portion control first. How do we actually put this into action? What we're gonna do is pause, be calm, and go slow when we're making our plate. Be in the moment. Chat with the people around you. Don't focus too much on the food. Having this kind of calm energy will help you not black out and overload your plate. And when you slowly make your plate, you can actually process, does this item even look good? Is it worth it for me to eat? Because sometimes our knee-jerk reaction will be to just take everything without really thinking about it. So the key is really to stay calm and take our time. The second important thing is food order. Like I said, protein and fiber first, then smaller bits of the yummy indulgent foods. The reason we want to do this is because protein and fiber make us feel full and satisfied, and eating that first before heavy carbs and sugar will actually protect your gut and lower the potential for stomach aches and bloating. And this is going to lower the intense carb and sugar cravings that you're going to get later. There's tons of really fascinating research about how food order helps mitigate how high our blood sugar spikes and crashes. For example, if we have carbs and sugar on an empty stomach, our blood sugar spikes like crazy, and then we get a sugar crash afterwards, aka a food coma. And then soon after, we get insanely strong cravings for more carbs and sugar. So this food order thing is such a cheat code to still enjoying the more indulgent foods. If you want to learn more about this hack, there is an amazing YouTuber on here called The Glucose Goddess, and she makes super helpful videos on this. Learning about this was a huge part of why I've been able to keep the weight off. So to reiterate the food order, you want to have fiber first. So that's mainly veggies. Raw veggies would be even better, like baby carrots, cucumbers, etc. And then you want to eat protein, and then your carbs, and then finally your sugary desserts. But if you don't want to eat so separately like that, just make sure you have your veggies and protein first, or at least your veggies first. Eating like this also helps mitigate how much of the unhealthy stuff I can even eat. Like if I'm full from my protein and veggies, I'm not going to be able to eat nearly as much mac and cheese or dessert. So it ends up being really easy to have small portions of those unhealthy carbs and sugar. And remember, no unhealthy food is going to ruin your progress or your health if you have it in moderation. Chapter 2. Healthy food pregame. So what do you do if the place that you're going to probably won't have any healthy food options? Like there's no veggies and the only protein option is like deep fried chicken wings slathered in sauce. One option is you could be the one to bring the healthy dish, but obviously only do this if it's appropriate to do so, like if it's a potluck, for example. But if that's not a good option, you could do what I call a healthy food pregame. What is a healthy food pregame? This is basically where you eat something healthy and filling before you go to your event. So again, focus on protein and fiber, and maybe also have a healthy carb like a sweet potato, brown rice, oatmeal. One important thing I didn't mention in chapter 1 is healthy fats. Fat is really important to keeping you full and satisfied. Some good sources of healthy fats could be things like avocado, butter, olive oil, and obviously consume fats in moderation because it is pretty high calorie and you don't need a huge amount of it to get the health benefits. So yeah, doing a healthy food pregame will help you think more clearly when you're at an event that's only serving unhealthy food. Since you're not starving going into your event, you can have those unhealthy foods in moderation. On the flip side, we all know what happens when we're really hungry and our only options are unhealthy junk foods. For me personally, I black out and I binge. This tip is also helpful if you're going somewhere where you don't know when the food is going to be served, so you run the risk of getting way too hungry and then by the time the food does get served, you end up binging. So yeah, healthy food pregame. Try it. Chapter 3. Plan ahead. To set yourself up for success, decide your game plan before going to a particular event or before the holidays in general. The framework I use before a dinner or going out somewhere is I pick 1 or 2 out of the following 3 categories: indulgent main foods, desserts, or alcohol. For example, if I want dessert tonight, I'm gonna keep my main meal healthy and I'll do no alcohol. Or if I'm doing wine or cocktails tonight, that means no dessert, and again, I'm gonna keep my main meal healthy. And I can also mix up the different categories. For example, if I have a small amount of something unhealthy and high calorie during dinner, but the rest of my dinner was like healthy and well-rounded, maybe I feel like I can have like a small piece of chocolate or like a couple bites of dessert. So you can decide on what a good balance is for you, but just decide on something. Don't go to your dinner event with no plan. The reason this is so important is because if you don't decide the game plan beforehand, you set yourself up for failure when someone offers you a cookie or a cocktail and you end up saying yes to all of it. For me, if I don't decide the plan ahead of time, I black out in the moment and I say yes to everything, and the next day I have a debilitating stomach ache and major regrets. I keep using the term blackout, but if you struggle with binging or overeating, you probably understand that this is the most accurate term to describe it. Chapter 4. Be picky about what you indulge in. Not everything is worth the calories, so choose wisely which foods are worth it for you. And I'm speaking specifically about which unhealthy indulgent foods are worth it for you, because healthy foods are always worth it. We are not cutting that stuff out. But think about it like this. A piece of cake, a pastry, mac and cheese doesn't have any nutritional value. If anything, it's doing actual harm to your body. So whatever unhealthy thing you do decide to eat better be so delicious that it's worth the stomach ache and the brain fog afterwards. Let's say during the holidays, your mom makes some delicious homemade dessert that she doesn't make any other time of the year. And maybe this dish is one of your top favorite desserts. Don't deny yourself this dessert because this particular dessert is worth it. But the store-bought cookies that someone brought are not nearly as worth it. So maybe don't waste your calories on them. A personal example of this is I grew up celebrating Eid. I still celebrate Eid with my family. And Eid is just like a Muslim holiday, but same concept. Lots of unhealthy food is around. Every Eid, my mom makes bakara and bigun bhaji, which are these Bangladeshi deep fried veggie dishes. I'll put some pictures up if you want to know what they look like, but they are deep fried, so super unhealthy, super high calorie. But I don't get to eat that stuff all year round, so I'm always gonna have some when my mom makes it. What I'm not gonna eat is the store-bought sweets from the South Asian grocery store. I can get that stuff all year round and it doesn't even taste as good as homemade, so I'm not really missing out on much if I don't have it. A bonus tip for this chapter is to eat slowly and savor every single bite. This way you'll be much more in tune with your fullness cues, so you'll be able to stop eating when you're actually satisfied. If you're eating too fast, you're not even really enjoying the food, but if you eat slowly, the food actually tastes better. At least to me it does. Chapter 5. Stop focusing on the food. The delicious food is part of the holiday joy, but there's so much more to be excited about. It's also a time when we get to enjoy being with family. Maybe we go home to our hometown and we see old friends. We enjoy watching our favorite holiday movies. We just indulge in the cozy holiday vibes. So basically adopt a more well-rounded mindset around the holidays and don't focus too much on the food. It's also helpful to not view it as you not allowing yourself to binge on all of the holiday foods, but instead you're diverting your attention and your excitement to everything else more evenly. But if you struggle with focusing too much on food, you can practice every time you find yourself obsessing over food, gently divert your attention to something else. And this might be hard at first, but your brain is a muscle and you can train it to do literally anything, so just be patient with yourself. Eventually, after practicing diverting your attention to other things, your food obsession will calm down and it's gonna be a lot easier to control yourself when you're around food. So when you're at a holiday party, just keep yourself busy with other things. Talk to people, catch up with family, play some card games. Keeping yourself distracted and too busy to think about food is just good weight loss advice in general, and it's not just useful during the holiday season. Chapter 6. How to deal with food pushers. A lot of you watching probably want to follow this advice, but unfortunately you have friends and family that pressure you to overeat. I'm Bengali, so I'm very familiar with this. In South Asian culture in general, it's kind of offensive to go to someone's house and decline food, or just generally not eat a lot of food when you're at their house. And it's considered polite when someone comes to your house to really pressure them to eat, because the general idea is a guest in your home is not going to want to say yes to the food, so you as the host need to like really pressure them to eat to like make them feel comfortable. But sometimes people can take it really far and just like be really annoying and ridiculous with how much they pressure you to eat. So yeah, I've had my fair share of relentless food pushers that refuse to take no for an answer, even though I've said like I'm very, very full like 10 times already. The way I navigate a situation like this is I don't tell people I'm on a diet or I'm trying to avoid too much junk food. I don't like the word diet, by the way. This is a lifestyle, not a diet, but anyway, you get what I mean. I just try not to draw too much attention to myself, and most of the time people don't really notice what I'm eating or what I'm not eating. Because in my experience, if you announce to everyone that you are on a diet or you're trying to cut back on junk food, people are much more likely to harass you to eat more, or they're at least more likely to keep tabs on what you are eating. But if someone keeps offering you food that you don't want, decline politely and just change the subject and distract them. But if they're like a level 10 food pusher and they just won't go away, just try not to engage with them. I know sometimes food pushers can be so annoying, but unfortunately, this is the best advice I have for them. Chapter 7. Don't beat yourself up if you overindulge. Listen. Sometimes we fall back into old habits and we binge. Beating yourself up over it is literally the most useless, counterproductive thing you can do. It puts you in such a negative, self-hate kind of headspace that sets you up for failure in the future. So try to have a relaxed mindset about all of this. The paradox of it all is that nothing works out well in life when we're holding on too tight and we're putting so much pressure on it. You'll realize that when you take the pressure off, your weight loss journey becomes so much easier. So if you end up binging or eating something that you shouldn't have, just move on. Tomorrow's a new day. Every moment is a new moment. There's literally no use in ruminating on what's already done. And a really important note is don't starve yourself tomorrow to compensate for going overboard today. This kind of yo-yoing is so bad for your metabolism, and I can guarantee you that it's gonna result in an even bigger binge. Get good at picking yourself back up and moving forward with an unbothered attitude at whatever just went wrong. So if you slip up and fall off the wagon, just resume your normal, healthy diet the next day. Basically, the moral of the story is stop being so hard on yourself. All right, guys, that is all I have for you guys today. I really hope you found today's video helpful. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok. I post a bunch of travel, lifestyle, and fashion content on there. Like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I hope to see you next time. Bye, guys.